Welcome Charter Board members and school leaders. The topic of this mini-course is negotiating the charter school's contract with the authorizer. The Charter School Board needs to understand charter contract requirements to negotiate and sign a contract with an authorizer. Meeting the terms of the charter contract is critical to the contract renewal and therefore to the sustainability of the school. Would you like to review the law and gain ideas to help the school negotiate the charter contract? Would you like resources shared by another charter school? This mini-course may help you. In this mini-course, you will review the law, gain ideas, test your knowledge, and receive a certificate of completion. When reviewing the law and ideas, think about how you can help your school negotiate the charter contract. Let's start by reviewing the law. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.06 requires that the authorizer submit an affidavit to the commissioner before a charter school can be established. The affidavit must adequately document the authorizer's new school application review and approval process to be approved. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.10 states that the authorizer and charter board must sign the written contract within 45 business days of the commissioner's approval of the affidavit. The contract is valid upon the signing of the authorizer and charter school and must be submitted to the commissioner for compliance review and acceptance. The Minnesota Department of Education works with the authorizer to ensure contract compliance with all statutory requirements and the authorizer's approved authorizing plan. It is therefore important to understand statutory requirements and the authorizer's approved authorizing plan in order to understand what is and is not negotiable. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.10, Subdivision 1, identifies many elements that must be included in the charter school contract. The contract must include a declaration that the primary purpose of mission-driven charter schools is to improve the learning, achievement, and success of all students. The contract must include how the school will report its implementation of the primary purpose to its authorizer. The contract must include a declaration of the additional purpose or purposes that the school intends to carry out and how the implementation will be reported to its authorizer. The contract must include a description of the school program and the specific academic and non-academic outcomes that students must achieve. The contract must include a statement of admission policies and procedures. The contract must include a school governance, management, and administration plan. The contract must include signed agreements from the board members to comply with the federal and state laws applicable to charter schools. The contract must include the criteria, processes, and procedures the authorizer will use to monitor and evaluate fiscal, operational, and academic performance. The contract must include the formal written performance evaluation that is a prerequisite for renewing the charter contract. The contract must include the types and amounts of insurance liability coverage the charter school must obtain. The contract must include a provision to indemnify and hold the authorizer and its officers, agents, and employees harmless from any suit, claim, or liability arising from charter school operation. The contract must include the term of the contract, which, for an initial contract, may be up to 5 years, plus a pre-operational planning period, or for a renewed contract up to 5 years. The contract must include how the charter school will provide special instruction and services for children with a disability, and a description of the financial parameters for the service. The contract must state the specific conditions for contract renewal that identify the performance of all students as the most important factor. The contract must include the additional purposes and related performance obligations as additional factors in determining whether to renew the contract. The contract must include the plan for an orderly closing of the school that establishes the responsibilities of the school board of directors and the authorizer. In addition, the contract must include a plan to address any outstanding obligations from the previous contract if a school is changing authorizers. Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.10, Subdivision 3B, states that the agreed-upon authorizer fee structure must be included in the contract. It is important to be aware of reasons that an authorizer may terminate or not renew a contract when negotiating the charter contract. According to Minnesota Statutes Section 124E.10, Subdivision 4B, an authorizer may terminate or not renew a contract for failure to demonstrate satisfactory academic achievement for all students. An authorizer may also terminate or not renew a contract if the school fails to meet generally accepted standards of fiscal management, violates the law, or for other good cause. Minnesota statutes do not specifically address what can be negotiated in the charter contract. When negotiating the contract, the authorizer must preserve the essential autonomy of the charter school. To summarize, what contract elements are required and what can be negotiated. Minnesota statutes require many charter school contract elements, including signed agreements from the board members to comply with the federal and state laws applicable to charter schools. Renewal contracts must include the formal written evaluation of the school's performance. An authorizer may terminate or not renew a charter school contract for failure to demonstrate satisfactory academic achievement, for poor fiscal management, and for violations of the law. In negotiations, it is important to remember that charter schools are fiscally and legally autonomous schools with independent school boards. It is also important to remember that the Minnesota Department of Education will require compliance with the authorizer's approved authorizing plan, in addition to all statutory requirements. What are some ideas that may help the school negotiate the charter contract with the authorizer? Read the charter contract guidance from the Minnesota Department of Education. Review the draft charter contract early in the process so that there is time to ask questions, negotiate, and make revisions. Negotiate standard and alternative performance measures and goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound to support success. Carefully review the language and commitments made in the contract, and set in place action plans to ensure the school can meet these commitments. Communicate regularly with the authorizer to ensure mutual understanding of each party's responsibilities. Read the authorizer's approved authorizing plan to understand required contract elements and to inform negotiations. Following are questions that you may want to ask to support the board in negotiating the charter contract. When does the charter contract expire? How will or does the board monitor progress toward contract goals? Is the school on track to meet the new or renewal contract performance standards? What action might the board take if the school is not meeting contract goals? If the school's charter contract were renewed today, would the school meet standards for a maximum renewal term? What are some examples of material contract changes that would require contract revision? And what is the process for revising the charter contract? Now that you have reviewed the law, learned ideas from other charter boards, and considered questions, let's take a look at how you can help support school success. By understanding what can and cannot be negotiated, as well as terms for non-renewal or termination, you can support the board to negotiate relevant and constructive contract terms. By understanding the contract terms, you can help monitor school progress toward meeting the terms for contract renewal and take action if the school is not on track. In conclusion, here are some potential next steps. Become familiar with the approved authorizing plans to understand the agreements that authorizers have with the Minnesota Department of Education. Include a standing agenda item in board meeting agendas to review progress toward charter contract goals and renewal. Regularly verify progress toward contract goals with the authorizer. Discuss potential next steps if the school is not on track to meet goals. Begin planning to successfully negotiate the renewal contract at least 1 year prior to the renewal date. Use the charter contract guidance from the Minnesota Department of Education to verify that the charter contract includes all required elements. Compare and contrast your school's charter contract with those of others to gain and share ideas. Contribute your ideas and tools to help other charter schools effectively and efficiently negotiate the charter school contract with the authorizer. Information in this video is not intended to address specific questions or issues a particular school may be facing. Charter schools should work with their authorizer, auditor, financial service provider, lawyer, and advisors to address any specific issues and to obtain additional resources. We hope this information is helpful in negotiating the charter contract.